Hello everyone, I invite you to every Monday review of top cryptocurrencies. Let's start by checking the situation on BTC in pair to USD, taking into account the one-day interval. As we can see, the BTC price has moved above the downtrend line and is currently moving above the local uptrend line. Before we move on to determining the support for the price, it is worth looking at the fact that we have currently formed a lower peak than the previous one, while the RSI indicator has the opposite situation. On the chart, the first peak is higher than the second, and on the RSI, the first peak is lower than the second. The formed pattern often ends with a downward price breakout. Now we can move on to marking places where the price has support. And here we see that we have the first support at $17,272, the second support at $16,920, and the third support at $16,576. However, when it comes to the resistances that BTC has on its way of growth, we see that the price is currently fighting with the first resistance. The next resistance will appear at the price of $17,577, at the so-called golden point of Fib. Then the resistance is at the price of $17,929 and $18,384. Please pay attention to EMA cross red 10 and green 30, as we see red crosses green from below, which is a pro-growth signal. However, you should keep common sense and watch if it will not be a false step as in the previous situation. On the CHOP index, we see that most of the energy has been used, while the MACD indicates an uptrend. As the second in today's review, we will check the ETH to USDT chart also on a single-day timeframe. First, we will mark the downtrend line that the price has crossed going up. As we can see, the last increase was previously confirmed when the red EMA cross 10 line crossed the green EMA cross from below, which is a signal for an upward move. Next, we see copies of the situation from the BTC chart regarding the arrangement of the current peak with the previous one and the situation on the RSI. Let's move on to identify the support areas in case the price turns around, and here we can mark the support zone from $1,283 to $1,242. Then the second support zone from $1,209 to $1,178. When the price drops lower, we have support at $1,131 and $1,073 in place of the previous one hole for the Looking the other way, it is worth determining where ETH will encounter resistance on the way to growth. So we can set the first resistance at $1,374. Then we have resistance at $1,447. Then a strong resistance zone from $1,549 to $1,677. It is worth looking at the CHOP index, which indicates that the energy was used for the last upward move. The MACD confirms the current upward trend, while the RSI, despite the previously discussed formation, is moving in the upper range, which often indicates an upcoming correction. Next in today's review, we have a chart of XRP against USDT on a one-day time frame. Let's start by marking the first trend, but before the price can face it, it has to overcome the local trend. Next, it is worth marking the sideways trend channel with blue lines. As we can see, although the price left the channel up, we formed a head and shoulders formation and the price returned to the channel. Now let's move on to determining the support, and here we can immediately see that the price is currently based on a strong support at 35 cents. The next support is at 29 cents, but in this situation it is worth marking the zone from the lower border of the channel to support as a strong support zone from 32 cents to 29 cents. Looking the other way, we see that we have the first resistance at 36 cents, the second resistance at 40 cents. When we manage to break it and break above the upper border of the channel, we have a strong resistance zone from 43 cents to 46 cents, which the price will have to deal with to measure. Please also pay attention to the volume, which has definitely increased with the advantage of buyers. On the CHOP index, we see that most of the energy was used to stop the correction. The MACD indicator indicates that we have maintained an uptrend, while the RSI is moving in the lower range, which in the long run should result in an increase in the price. The last one in today's review is the BNB chart on a one-day time frame. First, we will use the yellow line to mark the downtrend line that the price managed to break through the previously formed bullish pennant pattern. We can also see that the EMA cross 10 red line has crossed the green EMA cross 30 line from below, which often confirms an uptrend. However, here EMA cross 50 and 200 should be observed, because only when the yellow line crosses the blue line from below indicates the beginning of a bullish upward movement. Now we can plot the support spots for the price, and here we see that the first support is at $268.40, the second support is at $259.40, the third support is at $251.80, and the fourth support is at $244. Looking the other way, we see that the price is currently fighting resistance at $280.30 and the so-called golden point of 0.618 fib, but so far it has not been successfully tested and the price has returned below this level. Next, we have resistance at $296.80. Breaking it will open the way towards resistance at $317.70. Please pay attention to the CHOP index, which indicates exhausted energy. The MACD indicator confirms the ongoing uptrend, while the RSI indicator is at the upper end of the range, which may indicate an imminent price rebound. Technical analysis is provided by a third party, and for informational purposes only. It does not reflect the views of CryptoDaily, nor is it intended to be used as legal, tax, investment, or financial advice.